I'm Norris and welcome back to another sew along. Today we'll be working on my latest Nomi pattern design, which is ME2117, which are a pair of workout shorts with built-in tights up underneath. Now there are two views, view C and view D, and the only difference is the length of the built-in tights underneath. Now if you're new to sewing or just want to brush up on your skills a bit, you can go to sewedacademy.com where you can learn all the basics, and if you go now, you can sign up for a free trial just to see if you like it. Now let's get started. Okay, so like I was saying, we're working on my latest Nomi pattern, which is ME2117, and today we'll be working on view C and view D. The only difference between the two is that one of the tights are shorter and then the other one's a little bit longer. So we move to the back, you'll have all of your fabric suggestions across the top. You'll see notions. You'll need a 1.5 inch elastic drawstring or twill tape, depending on what you want to use, and you'll also need 3 7-inch zippers. And then also, once you get your size, you measure yourself, and whatever that is, you can see it here depending on what those measurements are. And the finished garment measurements will be on the actual pattern instructions. Okay, so look at the instructions and you'll see the finished garment measurements for that size, so you'll know more or less if that's going to fit for you. Okay, so now that we have all the information, we're going to go and look at all the pattern pieces we'll need for view C and also D. Okay, so we're going to need pattern piece number 14. We're going to cut 2 out of your fabric. Pattern piece number 8. Now this is your loop. You want to cut 2 of these out of your fabric. Pattern piece number 7. Now this is your pocket. You're going to cut 4 out of fabric. Pattern piece number 9. This is your back pocket. You want to cut 1 out of fabric. Okay, so now we have pattern piece number 6. This is your shorts back. You want to cut 2 of these out of fabric. And as you can see, I made mine just a tad bit short. I didn't want them too long. And then as you can see, once you turn them up, you'll get this right here on the inside. So you'll just have to mark out where that line should be, as you can see right here, and that'll even that pattern out if you choose to make them shorter. Pattern piece number 5. This is your shorts front. You want to cut 2 out of fabric. And then also the same thing on the inside seam. I just mark mines on the actual fabric instead of doing it here on the pattern. Okay, pattern piece number 12. This is the back of the actual tights that are built in underneath. Now this one right here, as you can see, I actually made this a little bit shorter too. So I just ended up grading that out to the hem. Pattern piece number 10. This is the front for your tights. You want to cut 2 of these out of your fabric as well. And as you can see, I made the same adjustments to the front that I did to the back. Pattern piece number 13, this is your side pocket. You want to cut 1 of these out of fabric, and this goes on the tights. Pattern piece number 11, now this is the centerpiece of the tights. You want to cut 2 of these out of your fabric. And then last but not least, pattern piece number 15, this is just your elastic guide. You don't need to cut anything out of this. You just need to place this up against your elastic to know how long to cut it. So my built-in tights are going to be white and my shorts are going to be navy. And once you cut all of your pattern pieces out of your fabric, we can begin order of construction. Okay, so I'm starting my back piece. The right side is facing up. And then with right side is facing, I'm going to grab my front piece just like this. And we're going to pin them right here in the inside seam. Okay, so now we're going to head to the machine and we're going to stitch this down using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. So do that, come back and we'll continue. So I attach the front to the back and I serge that seam and press it towards the back. And then now on the hem, we're going to go ahead and finish that. So you want to press that hem up just like this, 7/8 of an inch, which is 1/8 of an inch shorter than 1 inch. And then also here on the side where we have that split. So 7/8 of an inch here and here. Okay, so once you do that, you're gonna go ahead and take that raw edge and fold it into the crease. And then we're going to pin it on the outside, which makes that a double fold. Okay, see it just like that. And then the same thing here. Okay, so you want to be careful on that corner and tuck that corner in correctly. And then I'm just going to do the same thing all across the hem. Okay, so it might be a little easier to do the bottom first, and then you can do that double fold on the side, which will make that corner just a little bit better. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to head to the machine and we're going to top stitch on this side, where we're going to be catching that fold on the other side to have a nice clean hem. Okay, so let's head to the machine and we're going to top stitch the hem. Okay, so we're back for the machine. As you can see, that hem is nicely done, and we have it caught on the fold on the other side. So now what we're going to do is right sides facing. We're going to pin at that side seam, and there should be notches or dots. I'd make notches so I can always see them. Okay, so now we're going to head to the machine. We're going to sew 5/8 of an inch until we get to our first marking. Back stitch, cut your threads, and then we're going to skip over here to the one down here, back stitch, and go all the way through till we get to the end, and back stitch and cut your threads at the end. Okay, so we're going to leave an opening right here for the pocket. Then we're going to move all the way down here. Okay, so we're back from the machine, and then I went ahead and pressed that seam open, and even where we didn't stitch at, you want to press that 5/8 of an inch so we can have a crease. Okay, so this is my back and this is my front. Now you want to grab one of your zippers, and if you can see right here, I want to tack the ends here just so they can be a little bit closer as we constructing. Now first I'm going to go ahead and put the zipper underneath like this in between, and we're only going to focus on the back right now. So that zipper pull should be right in the corner, and then the back should line up right up against the zipper teeth. Okay, so you can pin that in place for right now all the way down, just so it can hold in place, as you can see. But for me, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it like this. Now this is basically how it lays on the other side. So I'm just gonna lift this up, making sure that that crease lines up with the zipper teeth. And then I'm only gonna pin on the zipper tape and the seam allowance. Okay, and if you pin, you can just unpin the other side, keeping it in place. Okay, so this is how it looks on the inside on the back seam allowance here. Now we're going to head to the machine, and we're just going to turn up like this, and we're going to stitch 5/8 of an inch, which should be right where that crease is at, all the way until we get to the top. Okay, so I'm just going to turn it like this, and we're going to stitch right where we have that creasing at. And I'm going to change my foot to a zipper foot. Okay, so we get to the top. I'm gonna go ahead and unzip this a little bit. So you just open it up a little bit and just slide it down past where we stitched. So now it won't be too bulky with the zipper pull up top. And now we add that stitching. Okay, so this is how it looks when we was at the machine. I'm gonna turn it to this side. I'm gonna zip it right back up. Okay. So now we're gonna work on the front seam allowance. So if we look from the front side here where that crease is, the whole zipper teeth should be just inside that seam allowance. So if I do that, you won't see it. So on this side, so basically the edge of the seam allowance matches up perfectly with the edge of the zipper tape. And then you can actually feel the zipper teeth is just inside that crease. Then now we're just going to pin. So now we're going to head to the machine and we're going to stitch the same way, but the only difference is we're going to do 3/8 of an inch on this side. Okay, so before we get started, I'm just going to zip this down just a little bit so it won't be too hard to get up top. That zipper pull makes it a little difficult. All right, so 3/8 of an inch. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and zip this right back up. And continue all the way down. We're gonna stop right where our stitching stopped earlier. Okay, so we're back from the machine. As you can see, it looked like this on the inside, but the outside, this is the back, this is the front, and you can see that that front is kind of hiding that zipper. All right, we're not finished, but for right now, let's go ahead and work on one of the pocket bags. So the pocket bag that goes on the front, you want to measure a 1/2 inch from this side here, and we're going to trim it off. Now this is the longer side here without the curve. Okay, so let me turn this back right side out. So this is the front side here. So I'm going to take that edge that I just trimmed, the same edge that was trimmed off, and we're going to match it up across the zipper just like this. And we're going to pin. Okay, so now we're going to head back to the machine and we're just going to stitch starting from the top all the way down using 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so I'm starting from the top and we have that zipper pull kind of in the way, makes it a little bulky. So I'm going to just come down here, open it up, and just unzip it just a little bit so I can have a good start. Okay, so now I'm just going to zip it back up. The reason why I'm sewing on this side is because I can see that 3/8 of an inch guide as well from that first stitch that we did earlier. Okay, so the front looks like this. Once you pull that back, it looks like that. And then now I'm going to turn it this way, which is, this is the back. And then now we're going to take the other pocket bag, which we didn't trim. Do not trim anything off the one for the back. And we're basically going to do the same exact thing. So we're just going to pin it. Okay, so turn it up like this. And the only thing you got to do is head to the machine and we're going to stitch 5/8 of an inch seam allowance starting here and going all the way up. Now this is the same exact thing that we did with the front, but the front was 3/8 of an inch. This is 5/8 of an inch. And don't forget to move your zipper pull out the way whenever you get close to the edge so you have a smooth stitch. Okay, so once you do that, come back and we'll continue. Okay, I'm back from the machine. As you can see, this is the 5/8 of an inch allowance on the back with the pocket bag. So stay with me. I know it's going to be a little complicated. It looks a little complicated, but we're almost done. So if you open that both of the pocket bags to both sides, you can see the zipper in the center from the back. And then now I'm going to turn it right side out. Now this is the front. So now we're going to go to the machine. We're going to leave the back across the back. And a good way to do it, we can just pin it. Let's kind of pin that back pocket bag out the way. We need this to be clear. And then this right here is the front. So we're going to be going to the machine and we're going to top stitch starting at the top. We're going to pivot, go down until we get to the bottom where that entrance stop, and then we're going to go across. And that'll give us a nice little pocket situation to hide that zipper. Okay, so be sure you want to leave this open. All right, so let's head to the machine and let's do this top stitching. Okay, so this is the front, making sure we keep the zipper on the other side clear. So I'm gonna unzip this just a little bit just so I can have it out the way. And now we're gonna top stitch. Okay, the pivot. Check and make sure no bags underneath. So now I'm going to keep the zipper teeth as close as possible without overlapping. I think I'm going to go over just one more stitch. There we go. Okay, so now I'm just going to zip that back up out the way and continue. And then we're going to pivot and close it out. Okay, so if you look right here, you want to give that a good press, and then now you have that zipper working, and then you can kind of see it hidden. So one last step, we have to overlay the back over the front, and then we're just going to pin along the edge of the pockets. Make sure to pin at your notch. One thing we're going to do is you're going to start here, stitch all the way around till we get to the top of the pocket bag using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Do that, come back and we'll continue. All right, I'm back from the machine as you can see, and then I finished up those seams with a serge, and then also I based the top towards the front. Okay, so now when you turn it to the outside, you have a nice finished pocket. Okay, so now once you do one side, you want to do the other side the same exact way. So once you do that, we're going to take the other one. One is right side out, one is wrong side out. We're going to take the one that's right side out and put it inside the other one. And then we're just going to connect them at the crotch and pin at that seam first. And then there should be 3 notches for that back seam. You're going to pin all the way through. Okay, so now you just want to head to the machine. You want to start on one side and just do a stitch all the way through and up the other side using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. And then once you do that, you can clean off your seams with a serge if you want. So do that, come back, and we'll continue. Okay, now that they're attached, you want to go ahead and press that seam. And then now we have a nice looking short. So now at the back, there is a patch pocket with a zipper. So I'm going to move this out the way for right now, and I'm going to grab that. I went ahead and did 2 rows of basting stitches. As you can see right here, we're going to pull those just to get a nice curved edge. But before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and attach the zipper. Now this zipper is a little long. I'm going to have to cut it off as soon as after I put it on. So to prep this, we have to slash in the center of the binding box. And if you can't tell, I went ahead and did a basting stitch all the way around that binding box. Then I'm going to cut all the way until I get about a 1/2 inch from the edge of the binding box, and then I'm going to cut diagonally to each corner without cutting through my stitching. Okay, so now you want to go to your pressing table. You should have 2 triangles at the end like this. So you want to fold those triangles back, and then also the seam allowance of that binding box. Okay, just like that. Okay, so head over to your pressing table, fold these back, give it a good press, come back, and we'll continue. Okay, if I'm back from the pressing table, as you can see, I have a nice binding box pressed. And what I'm going to do now is just slip this zipper right on top. Okay, make sure that the zipper pull right here is all the way up to the top. And then now I'm just going to pin this down. You want to leave just a little zipper tape showing on both sides. Okay, and then now we're going to head to the machine, and we're just going to edge stitch all the way around. Okay, so I'm just going to unzip this just a little bit. I have my zipper foot on. Zip it back up, and then I'm just going to continue. Pivot. Pivot again. And the more pins you have, the better it is for you to keep it straight and not let it slide. Let's zip this down a little bit. Pivot one last time. So I'm back from the machine. As you can see, the zipper is on. And then I went ahead and pulled and eased those curves. So once you do those 2 rows of basting stitch, you just pull a little bit and distribute that gathering, and then just press it. Press that 5/8 of an inch all the way around except for the top. And it'll be nice and neat like this. Then next, I'm just going to grab my shorts, And then there should be a placement. I have two curved placements here. And then I'm going to pin. I'm just going to pin up here just to keep it in place because I will be basting this across the top. Okay, now that we have the pins, now just head to your machine and you want to edge stitch, start on one side and go all the way until you get to the other side, making sure that you move that front out the way and you're only top stitching this onto the back piece. Okay, so go ahead and do your top stitch and come back and we'll continue. Okay, as you can see, went ahead and top stitch and now it looks really good, and then I based across the top, and now we have a working back patch pocket with a zipper. So next we're gonna move along to our loop. Now you want to take your loop right sides facing, match up your dots, and then we're just going to stitch on both sides using 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, and then we're going to turn it right side out and give it a good press. Do that, come back and we'll continue. Okay, I have my loop turned right side out. All I did was trim the seam just a little bit, and then I gave it a good press. And then now I'm gonna go ahead and pin it where the placement is. There should be dots indicating exactly where to put it. Now this loop is just like hanging like a little sweat rag or a sweat towel as you're working out, just in case you didn't know. And then what I'm going to do is the fold line is right here. It's half of it. And then that's where I'm going to pin. Okay. So now you're just gonna head back to the machine and we're going to stitch here across the fold line, and then we're gonna fold this up and then baste both across the top. Okay, just like that. So go ahead and stitch across here, fold this up and baste this across. Okay, I'm back from the machine. I have that loop stitch here and then I have it based at the top. So moving right along, we're gonna work on the tights underneath. So we're right sides facing. This is the front. I'm gonna grab the back and we're gonna attach it at that side seam. Pin at your notches first. Okay, so now that I have it all pinned, let's head to the machine. We're gonna stitch all the way across using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Do that, come back and we'll continue. Okay, so we're back from the machine. This is the back, this is the front. And I serge that seam and I press it towards the back. Now I'm about to put my placement for our patch pocket. Now this is going to on the right pant leg, and put it to the side for just now so we can work on the patch pocket. So I serge across the top, and then now I'm just going to fold down on the fold line and then pin on both sides. Okay, so now I'm just going to stitch 5/8 of an inch all the way around across the bottom and then up the other side. Now this is to stitch this down, but also give a guide for when I turn it around to fold and press, I know exactly where to fold at. Okay, so go ahead and stitch 5/8 of an inch, come back and we'll continue. Okay, so I'm back from the machine. You can see my stitching line, and then now I'm just going to trim. Grab my point turner, turn this right side out. Okay, so now we're just going to give it a really good press along that stitching guide that we did here and here, and then fold up the bottom. So give it a good press. And once you give it a good press, we're going to head to the machine and then we're going to stitch across the top here, catching this end here. And then we're going to do a second row, a 1/4 inch above that stitch. Top stitch across. Okay, and then now we're going to do one more stitch, a 1/4 inch away from that first one. Got back from the machine. As you can see, we have this pressed and stitched across the top. Now there are markings for the top up here, and then 2 markings for the bottom. And then now I'm just going to pin. So now just head to the machine, and once again we're just going to do edge stitching down the side, across the bottom, and then up the other side. Do that, come back, and we'll continue. Okay, so we're back from the machine. I went ahead and stitched this down, as you can see, and now we have a pocket on our tights. Then now we're just going to bring the inseam together, and we're going to pin to finish up the pant leg. Okay, so now you just want to stitch all the way across the inside seam using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. And once you do that, you want to do the other side the same exact way, minus having to do the patch pocket. So we're back from the machine. We have both pant legs sewn, and then now we're just going to have one wrong side out and then one right side out. And the one right side out, we're just going to slide it inside, and this is going to automatically make it right sides facing. And then now we're going to pin at that center crotch first. Connect these dots here in the center. Okay, so now we head to the machine, and we're just going to stitch starting here, going all the way until we get to right here using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Do that, come back, and we'll continue. And also while we're there, you want to take the center piece here. Now this is right sides facing, just like this. There should be a double notch here, and we're going to pin on this side here, not the long curved part. Okay, so while you're at the machine, after you stitch this, you're going to stitch along here using 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. So 3/8 of an inch seam allowance here and 5/8 of an inch seam allowance here. Okay, as you can see, we came back from the machine, stitched this together, clean that seam off, and press it to one side. So put it to the side for just a moment, and then now, as you can see, we have the pant legs connected together, and I pressed that seam to one side and cleaned that seam off. And we're right sides facing. We're going to just lift up the right side here, because this right here is still wrong side out. So flip up that right side, and we're just going to pin just like this all the way around. Don't forget the notches here at the bottom. Match up that crotch area, that center crotch seam. Okay, so now we're going to head to the machine. We're going to stitch around here using 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Like I said, 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so I went ahead and turned this right side out, as you can see, and now we have our leggings ready to be slipped on the inside. So I have my shorts. We're just going to slip it inside. So now we're just going to pin all the way around, and then we're going to take it to the machine and baste it. Okay, so go ahead to the machine, and you just want to baste all the way around, so this can be one piece. Okay, so I went ahead and basted this, as you can see, and then now we're just going to move along to our waistband real quick. So just so you know, you have markings for buttonholes here. On the back, I did some interfacing just because we're going to slash into those, make it a little bit more stable. Okay, so I have my buttonholes closer to that side, and then we're going to match up right sides facing. Now one side you have dots that we're going to match up. Now these markings is for us not to stitch in between. So I'm gonna show you just a second. So we have 2 markings here. So we're gonna stitch, back stitch, cut your threads when we get to the dot, skip over, start back here, and then go all the way to the end, leaving this right here open. This is where we're going to put our elastic in. And then on the other side, we're just going to stitch all the way across using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance without stopping. Okay, so let's head to the machine and do that. Okay, lift that opening. And then now on the other side, you just want to stitch all the way across using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so we're back from the machine. And as you can see, I pressed those seams open and then I folded in half and then pressed that in half. And I just want to show you the little opening here that we have on the inside. Okay. So now we have the buttonholes here, which means it has to be right sides facing with the front. So I'm just going to turn it upside down and then slip this to the inside. And we're going to pin all the way around, making sure we match our notches and seams. Okay. Now we're just going to head to the machine and we're going to stitch all the way around using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Do that, come back and we'll continue. Okay, so I went ahead and attached our waistband and I cleaned up that seam with a serge because it'll be a little bit tougher to do it once the elastic is in. So I'm going to go ahead and get a safety pin. We're just going to go ahead and put this in that opening that we had. Okay, so once you come out the other end, take your safety pin out, and then now we can just overlay it. And we can do a straight stitch like this and then come back and we'll continue. Okay, as you can see, I went ahead and distribute that elastic all the way around. And then now we're just going to do the same exact thing, but with our drawstring. Now, I like to do mine from buttonhole to buttonhole, so you can just go through one buttonhole and then come out the other one. And once you do that, we're going to finish up the last few details. Okay, so once you put your drawstring in, only thing else you have to do is to hand stitch this opening close in that waistband and to do your hem allowance on your tights, which is 1.5 inches, and you're all done. All right, congratulations. I hope you enjoyed this sew along, and be sure to tag me on all your amazing makes at Norris Danta Forward, and I will see you in the next sew along.